Hello, I am here to tell you about obedience, its different meanings, some Bible quotations about obedience, types of obedience, why obedience is good, how to know when there is spirit of obedience in you, what you cannot achieve without obedience, a short story for you to meditate on, why obedience is important in our lives, and some questions for you to answer. What is obedience? 1. Obedience is the behavior that is respectful and mindful of rules and laws. 2. The trait of being willing to obey. 3. The act of obeying dutiful or submissive behavior with respect to another person. 4. Behavior intended to please another. Types of obedience. 1. Obedience in the area of duty, but I call it selfish obedience because it is targeted at the handsome reward that follows it. 2. Obedience to the law. I call it out of fear obedience because it is targeted at escaping the wrath of the laws. 3. Out of love obedience. I call it obedience because it is targeted at uprightness. 4. Yes, master obedience. I call it devilish obedience because it is targeted at deception. The type of obedience I am talking about is the type that is targeted at uprightness. John 14 verse 15. If you love me, you will keep all my commandments. Isaiah 1 verse 19. If you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. Exodus 23 verse 22. But if you carefully obey his voice and do all that I say, then I will be an enemy to your enemies. Just like an Igbo proverb that says, if a goat's kid stays on his knees, it sucks his mother's breast. Obedience is good in everything we do because without obedience to our elders, there will be no peaceful coexistence between the old and the young. If there is no obedience to our superiors in our organization, there will be no progress in our collective efforts. If there is no obedience to our parents, there will be no home. And if there is no obedience to the laws, there will be anarchy in the society. But if there is no obedience to God, there will be hellfire in this world. How do you know when there is spirit of obedience in you? 1. Spirit of obedience is in you whenever you obey your elder, not only because of respect, but because it is right. 2. Spirit of obedience is in you whenever you obey the laws, not because of fear of punishment, but because you are passionate about it. 3. Spirit of obedience is in you whenever you obey your superior, not because of what you stand to benefit, but because of your willingness to serve. 4. Spirit of obedience is in you whenever you obey God, not because you want to prove to others your righteousness, but because of out of love you have for God. Here is the question: what can you achieve without obedience? 1. Have you ever seen a student that defied the school orders by coming to school late? That is only when it pleases him. By not wearing his school uniform, by attending to classes only when it pleases him, by paying his school fees whenever it pleases him, and by writing exams when it pleases him that has ever made it. 2. Have you ever seen a child who disobeys his parents by doing the house chores only when it pleases him, by coming in and out of the house as it pleases him, that has ever gotten exactly what he wanted from his parents? 3. Have you ever seen a worker who disobeys his boss by coming in and out of the office whenever it pleases him, by following the regulation only when it pleases him, by answering his boss's call only when it pleases him, that has ever been promoted before? If you really doubt me, I want you to 1. Show me a parent that give their best to their disobedient children, and I will show you a failed family. 2. Show me a teacher that passes students that do not come to classes, that do not do well in the exams, and I will show you a failed school. Show me an authority that does not punish offenders, and I will show you a failed society. In this world, we are mixed with the good, the bad, and ugly, the tall, the short, the fat, the thin, the white, the black, the rich, the poor, the wise, and even the fool. But with respect or obedience, we stay together. With obedience, the white will see the black as his race. With obedience, the old will play with the young. With obedience, the bad will be good to the good. The people that were destroyed by their disobedience. 1. Adam disobeyed God by eating the forbidden fruit and was sent out of Garden of Eden. That was how we inherited sins, death, and hellfire. 2. Lot's wife disobeyed angels' instructions not to look back and was turned to pillar of salt. 3. Moses disobeyed God by hitting his staff twice instead of once, as he was instructed by God, and was forbidden to enter the promised land. 4. Samson disobeyed his people by marrying a Philistine woman. His hair was cut off, and his eyes were plucked off. 5. King Saul disobeyed God by not destroying everything that belongs to their enemies, as he was instructed by God, and David was anointed to replace him. 6. Jacob's daughter disobeyed her family by going out with strangers and was raped, which resulted in Jacob's children killing many of them and running away. 7. Jonah disobeyed God by going opposite direction of Nineveh, where God sent him to, and was swallowed by a whale that brought him to Nineveh after 3 days. How do you know when your obedience is foolishness? 1. Your obedience is inappropriate when your parents instruct you to commit what is sinful in the sight of God and you obey it. 2. Your obedience is no longer valid when your boss instructs you to do what is against the ethics of your profession and you obey it. 3. Your obedience is out of order when your leader instructs you to commit what is a crime in the sight of the law and you obey it. In order to make you understand the importance of obedience, I have a story for you. Once upon a time, in the time of darkness, time of mystics, magic and sorcery, the time when goat was the yam keeper, the time when mouse was the fish seller, the time when squirrel was a maize farmer, and the time when lion was a grass eater, in the land of wonders, the promised land where Gad, son of Jacob, father of Eri, grandfather of Unri, and the great-grandfather of Enugu lived and died. The land that is located in eastern part of Nigeria, popularly known today as Biafra land. One day, at the coast of River Niger, there were baby frogs playing, singing and clapping. All of a sudden, baby snakes showed up, and they all began to play. After playing, they danced. After dancing, they sang. After singing, they clapped. After clapping, they jumped. After jumping, they slept. So, in the evening, they went their separate ways. The frogs were the first to arrive home, so their parents asked them where they came from, and they told their parents that they were playing with some long creatures that crawled in the zigzag form, and their parents told them that they were snakes, and that they were not only enemies but also their predators, so their path must never cross again. On the other side, the little snake's parents told them that those jumping elements were not only their friends but also their food, so for them to eat, that their path must always cross. On the following day, the baby snakes arrived at the coast and started shouting, "Hello, baby frogs, come out, it's playing time." And the baby frogs replied to them, "Thank you, our baby snake enemies. Whatever your parents told you, our parents have told us too." Here is my question. Do you think that baby frogs would have been alive if they did not obey their parents' instructions? Why obedience is important in our lives? If you obey your parents, your teachers, and your leaders, always bear it in mind that your young ones are watching. One day you will be a teacher, one day you will be a father, and one day you will be a leader, and others will obey you. In this life, it is always the measure you give that you will receive. Be it here or there, be it now or later, it will surely come to pass. As for those manipulative individuals that take advantage of their superiors' weaknesses as an opportunity to oppress, intimidate, cheat, or eliminate others in the name of following instructions, when you are very sure that he gave those orders out of carelessness, out of anger, or out of foolishness, and yet you obeyed it because of your own selfish reason, always be ready to follow the same order the day he will unjustly order you against yourself, because nemesis will surely catch up with you. Here are my advice. 1. Anywhere you find yourself in, be it in your land or foreign land, obey the laws that govern that land, and you will be favored. If you avoid evil in a land, that land will keep you away from evil. 2. Anything that you do, be it business or studies, always obey the laws that govern them. 3. In relationship, always obey the laws that govern relationship. And for some of you who will say, "I am only following others," these are my questions for those of you who believe that they are following others. 1. If that your parent instructs you to give your food to a beggar and go hungry while they are eating food with your siblings, will you obey it? 2. If that your boss orders you to add your own salary to your co-worker's own and go home empty-handed while his own salary is intact in his pocket, will you obey it? 3. If that your leader orders you to kill your children while his own children are on vacation to abroad, will you obey it? Please answer these questions on comment section by telling us what you will do if you are in the same position. Also like and share these videos, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks. I am Angel Ufo of Tubenje TV from Nigeria.